The sun is up, the day is wide open, and life still has so much to give. Every laugh, every step, every shared moment says the story is still unfolding beautifully. You are not finished yet. Your story continues.
Most people think life follows a straight line. Education, career, retirement. But for many, that line changes. Sometimes by choice, sometimes by circumstance, and sometimes by a moment they never expected. This is Not Finished Yet, a podcast about people who started again and discovered their most interesting chapter was still ahead. Each episode shares real stories of reinvention, the risks, the decisions, and what it actually takes to build something new later in life. Because the truth is, you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. Can I just add that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily reflect those of any organisations, employers, or partners connected to them. Before we start, a quick note. A large number of people who listen to the podcast haven't yet subscribed. If you find these conversations valuable, hit subscribe or follow on your platform. It makes a huge difference and helps us keep sharing these stories. Now, let's get into this week's story.
We're good. We're on. This is great. So, welcome everyone to Not Finished Yet, the next episode. Today's guest is Amir, founder of the Transformed Career Experience and author of Elevate, a book exploring the first principles of building a meaningful and sustainable career. So many of the people listening today are all around reinvention between them ages of 40 and 70 years old. And Amir really touches on this subject within the book. Amir works with accomplished professionals, people in their 40s and 50s who have spent decades building expertise, leadership, capability and successful careers, only to find themselves unexpectedly struggling in the job market that seems to have changed the rules. I'm laughing at that because that's what we're talking about all the time at the moment. There seems to be so much of it. And I'm delighted that we're going to be touching on a bit of AI today because that's something close to our hearts and we've spoken about on my other podcast. With a background spanning engineering, management consulting and 17 years working alongside senior leadership teams, Amir has developed a unique perspective on one of the biggest but least discussed challenges facing today's workforce. What happens when a career playbook that got you here no longer works? His work focuses on helping experienced professionals reposition themselves, rediscover their value, and navigate a world being reshaped by technology, changing hiring practices, and shifting expectations around the leadership and trust. Today, we explore career reinvention, the hidden trust crisis affecting hiring decisions, the impact of AI on professional value, and why some people thrive during disruption while others struggle. Amir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
No problem. So where are you joining from us again, Amir, today? Let the listeners hear. You're from?
I'm from Calgary, Canada.
Calgary, Canada. And what's keeping you busiest right now at the moment, Amir?
Right now, it's just clients. There's working with my clients, amazing people that I get to work with, senior level folks, and then a lot of people who are reaching out for help. And so, as you know, there's been a wave of layoffs, and a lot of senior level people are struggling to find their way back in. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So. Before we get into the questions and into the crux of what you're doing and what we're going to talk about today, if someone only remembered one thing from your work, what would you want that to be?
One thing is that I help people who feel invisible and who are invisible become in demand. And so I transform them into the kind of people that leadership teams actually fight to hire and fight to retain. So that's the one thing that I do.
Brilliant. Well, look, one of the things that we started the podcast on, Amir, just to let you know the background, it was spawned off another podcast that I do, which is a construction-related podcast. And the construction industry so damaged by some of the new technology that's coming in. Some of the people that have been laid off have struggled for nearly 12 months to find permanent recruitment, and they're at a C-level level of status. So many of our listeners will relate to this. They've worked hard, built careers, gained experience, and perhaps expected the experience to become more valuable over time. Instead, many feel invisible. So let's kick off. Let's get into the hidden mid-career crisis. You talk about accomplished professionals being quietly pushed to the sidelines. What's actually happening?
Um, well, there's a lot happening, and there's a number of dynamics happening for experienced professionals. One is, as you know, every organization is sort of pyramid, right? Like, so there's fewer higher level positions as you move up, and every professional is looking for a career trajectory. Every professional, we're all growing. As we work, we grow. We increase our capabilities, we increase our competence, and we expect the trajectory of our career to sort of move up. But the thing is that we all hit a wall. All mid or senior level professionals hit a wall at a certain point, because it's just it's a matter of math. There's no space up at the top for people. And what ends up happening is, so there's the career trajectory dynamic, there's the growth dynamic, but there's another dynamic that is not necessarily seen, but it's felt by everyone, and we all feel it. If you've spent enough time in the organizations, you know it. I call it the real organizational chart, right? It's not one that is separated by departments and what have you. It's really broken up into two populations. One is the inner circle, the center, the core, the trusted core, I call it, and then the outer circle, which is the resources. And the folks in the outer circle, they're the ones who they're not necessarily part of the trusted core, where the understandings and the secrets, so the knowing of what the organization, the leadership wants, what their aspirations are, what their plans are. There's a lot of inside information that happens that sort of stays contained within that trusted core. The folks in the outside, they're the ones who bring the skills, the capabilities, the experience, for which they exchange, financial, benefit, compensation. And so what ends up happening is there's that barrier in between that resource group and that trusted core, and that barrier is what I call the trust barrier. And the wall that people hit is that trust barrier. So when leaders feel comfortable they don't just bring anyone into that trusted circle. They don't bring just anyone into that senior level roles, those significant roles. They bring people who they know that they can put in those roles and go to bed at night and sleep soundly, and it's that level of trust, that level of certainty, earning that level of trust and certainty. That's what's missing for folks, and that's the wall that they hit. And so what ends up happening is senior level, they do their work, they're loyal to their company, they're loyal to the organization, but what they're not is people who have built certainty with leaders, built that level of trust with leaders, where the leaders see them as somebody, not that they can do the job, but it's somebody that they can trust with their own success. And so when they hit the wall, and layoffs happen, they're the first ones to let go. And so here you have then a group of people who've really dedicated their lives to their profession, they've built their competencies, they've done amazing things, they've accomplished. But because they don't have that trust, or that level of trust with leaders, or they've not earned that level of trust with leaders, then they find themselves, sometimes laid off. Sometimes they're just ambling along in a particular role, and they don't really get access to the kinds of opportunities that are really going to blow their career, into new heights.
Yeah. So do you feel that, is this something that you've always seen? Is this a temporary market issue or deeper structural shift, or is it something that's always happened, do you feel?
This is something that has always happened. This is timeless as timeless can be. And the way I help my clients understand this is, it's the same dynamic with us in our families and in our friends groups and in our own social circles. I wouldn't just invite anyone to come and take care of my kids. right? I've got 2 kids. I wouldn't just trust anyone that has the right qualifications and papers and certifications to trust, to take care of my
Absolutely.
kids. I want to know who that individual is before I can trust my kids with them. I want to know who the individual is so I can trust my wealth with them, my finances, right? Like my investments. I wouldn't just trust that with anyone. There's lots of people who are, very well qualified and they do great work, and that's great. But I need to know, as you would too, that who are you going to trust your most prized assets with? Leaders are the same. They have aspirations, they have goals, they have stretch outcomes that they need to go for, and they're squeezed. They're the ones in the middle. They have to answer the boards, the shareholder community, as well as and be able to lead their organization. And so they're in a very difficult squeeze spot. And so they have to know very clearly who it is that they can count on with the things that are most important for them. And so this is, again, like I said, it's timeless. It's something that I discovered in a really odd way. It's by accident. But once I uncovered it, for me, it opened up my career. And now it's opening the careers of my clients.
Excellent. So what patterns then with your clients are you seeing repeatedly amongst people coming to you for help? Is there any trends, or is it the same as you just said? Like, I get the same where it's always been the same within the structure of the company. But is there any repeated patterns you're seeing now with people coming to you for help?
Repeated patterns in terms of outcomes?
Yeah, about what's happening out there at the moment. I mean, it's a different world at the moment, isn't it? So what's happening out there at the moment that you're seeing? Is it a different pattern that you're seeing with new clients coming to you, or is it existing
Yes.
the same as it's always been?
Yes. No. Well, the trend has always been there, but now what's happening right now is even more. It's sort of an inflamed situation because of AI, and this is the downside of AI, because with AI now, a lot of people can put up a really strong application. They can put up, they can come up with amazing answers for interviews. And you have, like, I even read in one LinkedIn post, an executive who said he was interviewing for a very senior level role, and he could tell that the individual was reading out answers. So whatever the question was that was being asked, it was AI that was providing the answers, and he was just reading it out. And so it's just become that much more difficult. And I understand, people want to put the best foot forward, and AI is really helping them do that. But on the other side, for leaders, it's making it even more difficult for them to really gauge who the individual is, because what they're getting is this optics, this image of a really good, perfect candidate, and they know. When you're in a senior level role and people are people. AI can come. AI is in the mix, fine, but people are people. How they're going to show up, what they're going to do in the job, leaders know that, and they've been disappointed before. Like stats have shown for decades now that almost half of the hiring of senior levels ends up being a failure in 18 months. That's a very, very expensive endeavor for leaders. And so if they were cagey before, they're even more cagey now. And
Yeah, so yes, apologies,
sorry?
No, sorry, I was gonna second on that question. I was going to ask you, so therefore this particular group of people that you deal with, you coach and you help. Why does the traditional career advice no longer often fail with this group? What differences do you have to make now? Why has it changed so much? So basically, because of what's happening in the market at the moment, does traditional career advice often fail with this group? What you do is something different, having to think outside of the box perhaps differently than traditional routes of career advice that they've often had before.
Yeah, the traditional career advice, if I'm understanding correctly, my clients, when they come to me, they come to me after following the traditional career advice, and finding out very quickly, like they're putting in hundreds of applications. The other day, I was speaking to somebody who put in like 2,000 applications and hadn't heard anything back. Very qualified senior level folk, or professional, and when they come to me, they come to me because they know they've been disappointed. Like it's data is proven to them it's not working. And so what happens is, when I explain what's going on with them, it's not really them. It's just this difficult time that we're in. HR systems haven't really been able to adjust with AI in such a way that helps bubble up the right candidates for leaders. And so leaders are even more reliant on relationships and referrals and people that they trust to bring out the right individuals. And so what the clients that are coming to me, they've tried the resume, they've redone their resume hundreds of times. They've gone into LinkedIn, they've done all that stuff, they've networked, and every network outreach, ends up going in silence. And so they've done it all. And the ones who come to me who are just about to search for their job because they're about to get laid off, they come to me because they're hearing about all the horror stories, all the people on LinkedIn, who used to work at these, at Meta and Google and what have you. And some folks are like now going homeless because they just can't land a job. And so they're hearing all these horror stories, and then they're coming to me. They hear my pitch, and they're like, "Yeah, I want to avoid that," and that's why they come to me.
Yeah, because you I think I read somewhere that you said that the career strategy that people here won't necessarily get them where they need to get to next. Why do you say that? The question. So on the career playbook, I'm saying that the career playbook has changed, obviously, and you said, I've read somewhere that the career strategy that got people here won't necessarily get them where they need to go next. Why is that?
Because this is another dynamic that I've uncovered, and it's I call it the push-pull dynamic. So the first phase of our career, I would call it's a push. It's where it's a reflection of the effort that you put in. So all the work that you do, all the accomplishments, everything, that is a push. That is you demonstrating what you have, your capabilities, building up your competence. And the more you do, the faster your career goes up. Like the more you do, the more opportunities you're provided with. You're separating yourself from everyone else. And that's really dependent on you. It's a reflection of your, what I call, push. The next level, moving to that next level, moving into that trusted core, that's more of a pull strategy. So that's not a reflection on how hard you work. And this is a piece that I see. It's a mistake that I see a lot of senior level people make, is that they just want to do more. They want to push more. They want to get that PhD. They believe that they need to work for this one company, or they need to go and get additional certifications. Like it's a reflection of more effort on their part, and it's a matter of diminishing returns, and that's what they experience, is that no matter how hard they work, no matter what they do, it's just they're not getting the results. And that's because they've entered into the stage of life and the stage of career where the way to advance is a pull, meaning you're invited, you're pulled into those next level roles. And that's an invite. That's when leaders look at you and look around and say, who is it that we can trust with, our our biggest goals? Who is it that we can trust with our biggest assets, our resources? Who is it that we can count on in these positions? And when they know and they identify who it is that individual is for them, they pull those individual up into those roles. So it's a pull strategy. And what I work with my clients, the work that we do with my clients, the transformation, making them going from invisible to in demand, is I help them transform into people that leaders, not just one group of leaders, but multiple group of leaders want to pull them into their trusted core. And that's when you become, in demand. That's when really amazing opportunities open up. And that's when your financial compensation, just goes through the roof. And like I said, I experienced that. I quadrupled my income in 7 years, and it was a hell of a ride for me. And it was fantastic. I enjoyed every bit of it. And now what I'm noticing is my clients are getting that same thing too. They're getting offers, multiple offers, and then once they get an offer, they're promoted within 18 months. And leaders around them just fight to keep them on. And that's when you know that you've changed the dynamic of how you work with leaders, how you work in the organizations and your job. It's no longer about your capability. It's about just that leaders see their success in you.
Yeah, so you feel that this trust issue is it being accelerated by remote working and digital hiring, or why are hiring leaders struggling with trust more than ever before then?
It's right now, just because it's how clearly do leaders get to see the truth about who an individual is, right? Right now, with everything, it's just traditional career advice. You're supposed to put your best foot forward. You're supposed to put your best self forward, and you're not supposed to talk about the less than shiny moments in your life, in your career, and what have you. And you're the drive to want to be someone that you believe that leaders want to bring in. You want to make yourself look like the best. And the thing is that the more we do that, the more we go astray from the truth of who we are. And then the more rejections that we experience, the further it pushes us from the center of who we are. I was watching your conversation with Dr. Cynthia, and you guys are talking about drift early on in the conversation. This idea of drift, like, you just drift along in your career, you just move on to the next thing, and out of whatever the reason is, it's just complacency or whatever, you just drift off of your center, right? There's nothing that pushes you off of your center more than just rejections. You get to a point where you start to wonder, is it me? Is it my value? And then you try to manufacture a different aspect of who you are, and then people who get to a place of desperation say, I don't know what you want, just I will be whoever you want me to be. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll be whoever you want me to be. And when you're at that level, it's like you're the furthest away from your truth. You're the furthest away from your center. And when you're there, that's when leaders, they will be polite, they will be nice, but they will move on. Because that's somebody.
How do I get that trust though? So I get if I'm in a business at the moment, I own a business, so, I've got multiple staff work for me, and I get that within that. But if I'm from the outside and I want to join my business, how do I gain my trust then without me knowing that person?
Yeah,
what do you do, or how do you support that person to put them in the forefront in the first place?
I think that's a fantastic question, and I think what this uncovers is the real problem, the real gap in the system, in that it is very difficult from the leader side to elicit the truth and find somebody that they can trust. It's incredibly difficult for you to do that, which is why I work with clients. Initially, I wanted to work with leaders, but after I went through my own experience and I discovered the dynamics that make things work. The truth is the solution lies with individual candidates. So only an individual candidate who has done the work, who can present you with the truth, is when you can see the truth. It is very difficult to elicit the truth from somebody who doesn't want you to see the truth, right? And so for that reason, like your ability, so you're as a business owner, when you're hiring people, one question that you can ask when you're hiring people, I advise, like I got friends and family members who are business owners. One question I advise everyone to ask is, just tell people, like, what is the one thing that I need to know about you? Right? Start off your question with that. Start off your interviews with that. What is the one thing that I need to know about you? And watch how people answer. The ones who have a really good sense, and you can tell when somebody's when giving you lines or giving you marketing versus somebody who's actually revealing the truth. And when somebody is not clear about who they are, or what is the one thing that you need to know about them, when they're not clear about that, that's cause for concern, right? That's cause for concern. That is somebody who who is not anchored in the truth of who they are. And when somebody is not anchored in the truth of who they are, the risk of them drifting, they could listen to a podcast and think, oh, well, that's something that I need. Or another opportunity comes by and it's like, oh, I want that. And what have you. Like the risk of drift in that individual is high. As a business owner, would you trust them in an important role where you require them to be, where you're going to rely on them? Your business relies on them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes you get a connection with someone within an interview. I always say you have to sleep on something. Sometimes you'll get that instinct that this is you connect with certain people and don't with others. How do I then, as a business owner, how do I not overlook the wrong person? Because I could get drunk on someone's, persona, and I like that particular person, and they probably are the wrong hire for me altogether. Because if we were all good at hiring, I think we'd all be successful business people, wouldn't we?
Yeah. And this really comes down to, I think you said it's like you go based on your instinct. Like what does that gut instinct read, right? Because people will tell you what they want to tell you, and sometimes you have a good personal connection, good, your personalities match, and that may not necessarily be what you want, right? And so starting off with that question that I just shared with you is like, what is the one thing that I need to know about you? And the way they answer that question, hear it, and trust your gut instinct based on what they respond or what they say. And then the other thing that if you really want to understand the individual, is like, what is the one thing that you don't want me to know about?
But if I'm now the individual going for that role, how do I become more trustworthy in the eyes of that decision maker?
Yeah. And so this is what I work with my clients. So first, like the work that we do with our clients is a deep transformational process. So for them to be able to sit in front of a leader and be able to build that trust, first they have to get clear and rooted in their one thing, in their core value. What is that unique value that they have to offer? And that is something that, it's not something that we guess at. It's something that we uncover through their lived truth, through their personal life, their professional life. We uncover all the data and we analyze and we say, okay, what is that golden thread that is tying everything together? And once we see that, and once my clients see that and they connect with it and they integrate with that identity, it changes how they show up. Right? I mean, you've been as a leader, you've sat in front of people who aren't fully sure of themselves. And then you've also sat in front of people who you're your gut instinct says this is somebody who is like, I can feel the truth coming from them. This is somebody who's authentic. This is somebody, there's conviction there. I can feel the authenticity. And so what our job is first is to get our clients connected with the truth and to get them into conviction, right? Into conviction, meaning they believe, they get who they are now, which before they came to us, they didn't. They had a sense of who they were. They kind of wanted to position, and present themselves in a way that they believed would advance their case, and it wouldn't. It wasn't doing it. So once we get them to that place of truth, then what we do is we say, okay, how do we communicate that? How do we present it? What do we need to say to take a leader from not knowing anything about them to absolutely believing that, yeah, they need to hire them, and they needed to hire them yesterday? And so what we build is what I call the lean messaging system. It's a series, it's call it your messages and your mediums, right? So the core messages, what are the messages that we want to send out, and how is it that we're sending those messages out? Meaning your mediums, your introduction, your stories, your LinkedIn profile, your resume, all that stuff, everything that leaders touch and see and sense and hear and feel from you, where they get a sense of who you are. Because when you're hiring and talking to people, you're looking at everything. You're not just looking at their resume and hearing their responses. You're looking at everything to kind of piece together who that individual is. And so that's what we do, is we prepare our clients to understand, okay, how is it that you're going to communicate your value in a way that gets leaders to understand? And so what we do with our introduction is we lead with the one thing. We lead with clients one thing. So we answer that question that every leader has. What is the one thing that I need to know about this individual? They may not ask it, but they want it answered at the back of their mind, right? That's the whole reason they're having this interview. So with my clients, we start off with that introduction, and I can. The words don't matter as much as the truth that fuels it, if I can say it that way. Because when my clients say it, they're coming from a place of truth, and they're representing themselves authentically. And that's what leaders feel, right? It's not just the words, but it's the feeling that the leaders get when they're hearing what they're hearing. And, for my clients who've really integrated well with their identity, like in some cases, they've had offers within the first 5 minutes of their conversation or interview. And it's because that introduction just nailed it for the leader. Like the leader needed to hear that, and that's what they wanted to hear, and they saw it, and the resume and LinkedIn profile, everything added up the picture for them, and they just needed to verify, is this individual real? And they heard it, and they believed it, and they switched from talking about, I'm here to interview you, to, okay, well, let's talk about what we're going to do together, right? And so yes, go on.
No, I was just going to say, because I'm looking for someone. Whenever I'm interviewing you, I'm trying to fit you into what I feel that would be my culture, where I've got my team, and I feel how you could fit and what difference you could make. So I'm really interested actually on how you're getting that person to tap into that point of view. Do you feel that it's just that I'm going to trust you more because you've given me some information that I probably may not have asked for, but it's really useful? Or are you coaching people to also to individually tap into that particular company and what you feel the culture is? Or is it completely just a one-sided, just teaching that individual how to act differently?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So one of the other things that we do with our clients is, once we know the truth of who they are, then we dig deeper into organizations and to the internal world of leaders to really understand, okay, where is the need for that value felt? So this is not about looking at job boards and job postings and what have you. But what we're looking for is, like, where is the need for that value felt? If I can share an example, I think this would make this a little bit more understandable here.
Please, yeah.
I had a client Yeah, I had a client, he was my first client, and um, he was a very successful project manager, very highly regarded project manager, was running big billion-dollar projects. And when he was around 40, 42, he started to feel like this is not something that he wanted to do. Like he was sort of done with project management. The only problem was that he was very successful. He was in demand. Clients wanted him. He was just great at it, right? Um, and like if he was to look for more jobs, the only jobs he would get is more project management. So he was sort of like stuck in the situation. He was 42. He had still another 20 years, 25 years of work left ahead of him. And he's the only breadwinner for his family. So he was sort of like in a very stuck situation. Like, what do you do? How do you switch? Like, where do you go from here? And so when we connected, he we went through the process and got to the core of his one thing. And what we discovered in his truth and his one thing is that he's somebody who he's somebody who brings people together so that they deliver amazing things. He's always been this person. He didn't just learn how to do that in project management. He started to be that person when he was a kid. It's a trend. It's this golden thread that has been there his entire life. He showed up. He demonstrated that as a child. He demonstrated that in school. And this is why he was so successful in project management. People would fight to be in his projects because he was so good at getting everyone together. And when you're running multi-million, billion-dollar construction projects, you have a construction business, the challenges between clients and contractors and, schedules and unpredictable events and what have you, and personalities and what have you. And so, there's a lot of challenges that come up. And he was somebody who just smoothed everything together. He was able to get everyone together, able to get contentious contractors, everyone. He just did that really, really well. And so there was no chance that clients were going to let him go, and his employers was going to let him go. But he needed the shift. He was done. Like when I say he was done, he was done. He did not want to do project management anymore. But when we found out what his one thing was, then we're like, okay, well, where is that needed? And the truth is, when you really look at organizations and the world of leaders, like not every leader is designed, is equipped or is driven to do the thing that my client is driven to do. Mike, there are leaders who are like really good at finance. So there are leaders who are really good at strategy. There are leaders who really excel in their particular area, but they're not good at bringing people together, right? And so what happens is in every organization, there's silos, there's challenges, there's war, there's conflict in between departments and what have you. So there's a constant need for him in different organizations. Once you got that clear, and he was able to and we got his communication, his value, his lean messaging set up and everything. He reached out to a few people in his own network. And, very quickly, he was sitting in front of an executive team for this one company that was buying a number of companies. And when he shared when he shared who he was in his introduction, within 5 minutes, they're like, we need somebody exactly like you. Because here's the deal. We're buying all these companies, all these different cultures, all these different personalities, all these different leaders. Nobody's getting on the same page. No one is. And that is causing problems. So they're in the middle of buying a significant number of assets and companies, and they wanted somebody like him. And they made him an offer in that one conversation. He wasn't ready for that, and he said, I'm speaking with other companies, just so this is what we do. But they said, listen, we want you. You tell us who these other companies are, and we'll badmouth them so that you work for us. They were very, very convinced that he needed to work for them. He's been with them for 2.5 years now, and within 18 months, he's one of one of my clients who got promoted. And so he's doing exactly what he wanted to do. He's not doing project management anymore, but his profile is elevated. He's at a senior level. He's working with the executive teams. He's doing exactly what he wanted to do. But that came from not looking at job boards. That came from first understanding his truth and then understanding where is that need, where is the value needed inside organizations. And once we got clear on that, and he was able to get leaders to see that and connect with it, it changed the game.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is useful information for people out there at the moment. It's just a different perspective. We make the same mistakes all the time, trying to reinvent ourselves, and we think, look, this is what I'm really good at, and this is how I'm going to present myself, and I present myself in probably the same way that I've always done, which the way you're presenting people or the way you're coaching people to present themselves is bringing out their actual skill set rather than their actual qualifications, isn't it? You know, which is a great. This is what we're talking about. I mean, when everyone talks about transferable skills, but no one actually tells you how to use it and transfer them skills, really. And skills are different than qualifications, in my opinion. But I want to move on a little bit because I don't want to keep you too long. But I want to move on and talk about the elephant in the room at the moment. You know, we've seen it over the years. Farmers, someone invented a tractor, 100 people left the farming industry out of that field. We only needed one. We talked the other day, funny enough, Netflix had announced another show, and you think, well, great, it used to be Blockbusters, you go and get your video. There was millions of people who used to walk for Blockbusters. All of a sudden, someone turned on a digital streaming, and all those people in them shops have gone. And now we've got AI, and I don't want to over spit the dummy out about AI, but we've seen the effect in the UK, especially. I know you've seen it in the US, and no doubt, where we've got a big unemployment issue with young people, and them coming into the industry, and those startup roles that traditionally we would have given them, we don't really need them. And now we're seeing, obviously, the C-suite, where as an owner of a business, do I need another director? Because I can do so much more now on my own and with my other directors than bringing in someone else that perhaps I would have done in the first. So AI is creating this anxiety across every profession, and I think I'm not going to say it's an unwanted anxiety, but I think there's a truth behind this, and we don't know how good AI is going to become. But you said, or I read you say, that AI isn't ending careers; it's ending certain career strategies. What explain a little bit what you mean by that?
About the elephant in the room. So you set it up with AI, like now with AI, we're coming what, and that's sort of we left off.
Yeah. So basically now, you know, we've got this situation where AI is creating anxiety across almost every profession, and I thought I saw you or read say that AI isn't ending careers; it's ending certain career strategies. So I wanted you to explain what you meant by that, really.
Yeah. So now I'm going to say some things again. I'm not in the AI business. I'm not all up to speed about AI, the tech itself. I just know as much as what everyone else knows. But from understanding the organizational structure and business and what leaders are really looking for and struggling with, you know, AI, first of all, is an accelerant. It is something that is going to use or be used by leaders to accelerate, to produce more, to create more output, and what have you. It's not perfect yet, but I think what I'm hearing is that leaders are and organizations are preparing for that time where they can rely more on AI. So they're investing ahead of time in AI, even though it's not perfect in executing what organizations need to do. So there's a bit of an adjustment period that we're looking at right now. And so that's what I believe that's the period that we're in. I don't know what's going to come beyond that. But what I do know is in this time, the ones who are going to be successful in the organization or in their careers are going to be ones who are not necessarily using AI to help them do a better job, but who are thinking ahead at what organizations and leaders want is like, what more can we do? How can we leverage AI to accelerate what we need to do? The more aligned you are with thinking the way leaders are thinking about their organizations, and their businesses, the better your chances for securing your career. And so the way I help my clients think about this is that, if you want what the leader wants, if you want what the executive team wants in terms of outcomes, in terms of growth, in terms of whatever it is that they want, when you're aligned with them and you see AI as a tool to leverage, then there's always going to be room for you. But if you come in at this with, this is my job, this is what I do, here's the information, my value is only the information that I have, and all of a sudden you see an AI doing exactly what you're doing, and then it's like, well, if you're going to bring AI in and kick me out, then that's that's not fair, that's not right. If that's sort of where we stay, then that's going to be a problematic this next phase is going to be a problematic time for you. But the more we think about, okay, it's about outcomes, it's about business, it's about, like, business is not going anywhere. AI is here, but business is not going anywhere. We still need to drive on roads. We still need to go to the doctors. We still need to go and buy insurance. We still need to, our needs are still there. Business is still there. Economy is still there. It's not going anywhere. And what we just need to do is we need to think about how we're going to position ourselves in a way that aligns with the reality where we are right now, right? And so when we partner with leaders who want to leverage AI and do more and expand more, great. If there's leaders who are like wondering, and there's a lot of executive teams out there who have no idea how to leverage AI, and they're on the clock, right? Like there's pressure on them from the executive boards, like, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, they laid off, 80% of their team, and their financials are growing. Like, so what are we doing, right? Like, what are you going to do? So,
yeah, I mean, Stephen Bartlett said on his podcast the other week, I mean, he listened to, he won't consider anybody in his team unless they've got an appetite to either learn or be part of that AI revolution, which must send shivers down some of your clients' backs, really. I mean, let's be honest. I'm lucky enough that I've adapted and I've wanted to learn because more of an interest. But if I had to learn in that way of mind, I mean, have you got many clients that are really worried about that? And what advice would you give them?
Oh, no. Like, my clients are the AI doesn't scare my clients. After they've gone through their transformation, after they've connected with their truth, AI doesn't scare my clients. It's just a tool. It's just a tool to understand, to leverage. And we don't need certifications per se. AI is we have to learn to work with AI to get the outcomes. And so it's a matter of building a relationship. The way I explain what AI is to my clients is, have you watched the show Suits?
Yes.
So, Harvey Specter hired Mike Ross, who no law degree, but has a photographic memory and knows, like, you just put a contract in front of him and he knows every aspect of the contract, right? And so for Harvey and for all the lawyers around him, having Mike around is somebody who's like, they can just put a piece of paper in something, and he just gets it, right? He's that walking computer who understands context, who has this photographic memory, who's just this perfect, like, is a weapon of insight and knowledge. That's what AI is, right? and that's the way to look at it. It's not about understanding the guts of how it works. It's about understanding how to use it to get the outcome. And so there's a little bit of building a relationship with them. So I encourage my clients to use AI, to understand it, to understand how you can work with it. And because AI is going to get better and better, just understand how you can use it to get outcomes. And it's not scary for my clients per se after, like I said, they've gone through the transformation, because the truth of who they are and what they bring is more than what AI could ever do. You know, the intangibles, the wisdom, the insights, the judgment that comes with all the years of experience that people go through. And this is something that I'd want people to understand as a message that I want to share with people, is like, everything that you built up until now, that doesn't go away. But everything that you've done, all those experiences, all those disappointments, all those challenges, all the wins, everything that has built this volume of wisdom and insight and judgment and clarity and intuition in you, that doesn't go away. And there's value to that. And AI will never take that. AI will help sharpen some things, but it will never take over. It'll never surpass the level of judgment and intuition that you've built.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So quickly on to some kind of reinvention starting again, and we've talked about some of this already, so I don't really want to go over it too much. But just one question on reflection on this. What part of mine, or the listener's professional identity might you need to let go of to be able to move forward?
What part of your professional identity? I think that's a great question. In fact, yeah, no, that it's a great question, because what I do in doing the identity shift with my clients, what we do let go of is the identity that is imposed on them by external voices. So we build our identity based on what we hear from people. We build our identity based on our outcomes and what have you. Like, we build our sense of identity based on our job title, income, or whatever, right? Like the neighborhood that we live in and what have you. Like, all of these elements, we can come in and form our sense of identity. But also a big part of identity is also coming from feedback from people, right? Hey, Mark, you're great with podcasts. You're a person. You're just amazing with people, and you're a people person, right? Well, that's now an identity piece. You hear enough people tell you that, it's like, well, now that becomes a part of your identity, right?
Yeah.
But what I help with my clients is that sometimes those imported identities don't actually serve you. They limit you. And when your identity is formed from within, those are external sources. But when your identity is formed from within, the truth of your lived life, and the truth of your lived life, and the truth of who you are, it is a much more centered, much more anchored, much more solid identity that you're never shaken away from. So it doesn't matter what. You come across people who like you, great. People who don't like you, okay. People who think you messed up and you're just the most horrible individual, fine. That's your opinion, but I know who I am. It's very unshakable.
It's very interesting, because I remember a moment in my life as a young manager. I'd been a managing director quite young with a big organization, and then I went to for a role, and I thought I had everything boxed in, and I remember them judging me on my abilities based on the culture of the business that I'd worked for, which is quite interesting. They didn't want to see past that, me as a person. And I suppose what we're talking about is trying to get that kind of, not myth, but that background of structure, what you'll identify as, out of your system, and it is a reinvention, but it's not. It's a kind of bringing forward, isn't it, of the inner yourself to try and get that trust, what you're talking about early on in the podcast, over as soon as you can to that next potential employee. I've got one or two. What I normally do is have one or two some practical advice for listeners, and a quick fire round on, if you don't mind, can answer this as a one-word answer or whatever.
Okay.
But let's start with the obvious one. If someone's feeling stuck today, what should they do first? What's the first stop? Where's the first stop? I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. Tell me where we find you, for example. That would be good as well. And well, basically, if someone's feeling stuck today, and you can support them, where could they find you? If you we'll put all the details in the chat and everything else, but just tell us your website and where they can find you and your LinkedIn, perhaps,
Absolutely.
or whatever.
So they can find me, first of all, just Googling my name, Amir Muradali, or Amir Muradali. I also have a website, amir-muradali.com. They can go there and you can get the information that you need. But Googling my name, you'll find my LinkedIn, you'll find my website. I've got a free training that people can go to where I show them how to do the guts of basically what I do. How do I take somebody from zero to basically in demand? And so I have a training, it's a 36-minute training that they can watch that really breaks it down, all the details of what we do here. And so they can find me there.
Okay, for advice for these people, what's one thing they should start doing this week if they're looking at making that change?
One thing they should start doing this week. Reflect on their life. Reflect on their biggest wins, reflect on their fails, reflect on their life. What is the thread that ties everything together?
Okay. And how can someone better communicate their value?
Just be honest. Be honest, be truthful, be as authentic as you can with what you have, the level of clarity that you have right now. Just be authentic.
And is there any myths about career advancement that need to be retired?
Yes. The myth is that working harder gets you further.
That's an interesting answer. Explain a little bit more about that. What do you mean by that? Well, you've explained a little bit earlier on, but I'm interested in your thoughts.
Yeah. Working hard gets you to a certain level, but once you get to that, it's that pull-push dynamic. It's not about working harder as much as it is about getting aligned with leaders and what they want and what the organization, getting yourself aligned with the organization, the mission, the leaders, and really putting yourself in a place where you're prioritizing their needs over top your needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just 3 or 4 more questions on the quick fire round. What does not finished yet mean to you personally?
Not finished yet. Means there's our mission in life, the purpose that we've been bestowed with, that we've been given. We don't come here with a manual, but we all have a purpose in life, and I think it's a matter of just an ongoing discovery of the work that we're here to do, the impact that we're here to make. And that will never be finished. I think that finishes the minute the eyes close and shut down, and we're done.
Point. So, what lesson do you wish you'd learned 10, 15 years ago, or earlier? 10, 15 years earlier, I suppose.
What lesson we should have learned?
What lesson do you wish you'd learned?
Oh, what lesson did I? Okay.
If you were going to learn something, you wish you'd learned something earlier, 10 years earlier than you have, what would that have been?
I wish I learned the value of I wish I learned the value or the pains and the challenges of leaders at the level that I understand right now. Um, a lot of the more in tune that we are with the reality of what leaders go through, the better the better that we're able to manage, the better that we're able to empathize and align with leaders. Because I'll just say this piece. I know it's not short, but I'll say this piece that leaders, the world of leaders is a lot more complicated and a lot more challenging as from an individual experience perspective, because the level of control that you have is not the same as when you're an individual contributor. When you're an individual contributor, you got your hands on levers. But when you're a leader, you really depend on people. And so, and that introduces all sorts of challenges, all sorts of uncertainties, and that puts you in front of the mirror, where you get to see for yourself how is it that you deal with uncertainty, how is it that you deal with challenge and frustration and stuff, and it brings out the real you. And so leaders go through a significant amount of challenge and pressure, and I wish I had learned at the level of detail that I have now what that challenge and pressure really was. I would have shown up differently.
Thank you. Well, just one last thing before I wrap up. I just want you to give us an overview, if you can, on Elevate. And obviously we'll put all the detail for people to be able to link where they can buy a copy. But where you just give me an overview of what I expect when I get that.
Yeah. So Elevate is all about, like, what do you need to know and do to move your career, to advance your career. So it's a lot of the principles that we talked about that I shared with you here, broken down into tactical pieces, things that people can actually do and follow and use. And a lot of the insights that I also share with my clients is in that book. But it's the way I equate it to is, it's like it's what you need in order to advance your career beyond what you would typically do. So, like, don't leave your career advancement to default. There are specific tactics, actions, insights, things that you need to do in order to advance your career. All of that is in Elevate. Same principles that I use to help people land significant roles. So it's the same first level principles, just applied to, okay, how you've decided now you want to move up, you want to elevate, you want to get to the senior levels. What is it that you're going to do? What do you need to think about? How do you need to show up differently? What are the insights you need to have that nobody's going to tell you, mentors won't tell you? What are those level of insights that you need to switch your tactics up, so that you're building the right audience to pull you into those roles.
Excellent. Oh, thanks very much. So look, guys, take it from me. I've got a copy. Should have had it on with me, but I'll put a copy on the chat so everyone can see it especially on the community board. But whether you're feeling stuck, overlooked, or wondering what comes next in your career, Amir's message today, I think, has been a powerful reminder that experience still matters, but how we communicate and apply that experience may need to evolve. Reinvention isn't about starting over. It's about building on everything you've already become. Really like to thank you for coming on, Amir. It's been fascinating. There's been a few technical issues, but we'll resolve that when it comes out. You won't know any different. But right. Thanks very much for coming on, and really look forward to for people catching up and on the book. And is there another one coming out after this? Is there a second chapter, if you like, or is this the main launch of just one only book? Some people have many, some have one. What's yours?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's that's a great question. I've been thinking about writing another one, but It's just I'm so like there's so many people to help right now. I just don't have the time for that. But
That's fine.
should the time pop up, then yeah, maybe. You never know.
Thanks so much for listening to Not Finished Yet. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Please see the links to all our socials. Until next time, remember, you're not finished yet.